Nancy settles into a hotel room, appearing somewhat tense and unsure of what she's doing. She takes something to calm her nerves. While fixing herself up in the mirror, there's a knock on the door. After taking a deep breath, she opens the door, revealing that the source of her tension is a young and attractive guy named Leo Grande. Leo plants a small kiss on her cheek and compliments her on her alluring perfume. Nancy dismisses his compliment, mentioning that women at the age of 42 usually receive such compliments. Leo assures her they will have a great time and asks for a drink to get things going. Leo raises his glass to those who are attractive at any age, and after taking a sip, he says that it has aged very well. But what he really means is Nancy. As they attempt to get to know each other through light conversation, Leo's overwhelming handsomeness distracts Nancy, making it challenging for her to engage. Nancy suddenly asks Leo if he feels degraded or belittled by her. Leo assures her that everything is by his choice, he enjoys it, and he has never felt degraded. He then inquires about Nancy's desires for the night. Nancy just wants to be with him, fearing that her aged self might disappoint Leo. Leo understands her tension, gives her a little kiss, and reassures her. Expressing that the tension is unbearable, Nancy insists they proceed quickly. Leo argues that there's no pressure and it should be enjoyed, suggesting they talk a bit more. He also mentions his skill in surprising people, but Nancy misunderstands this as unusual desires and is disgusted. Leo actually clarifies he meant communication skills. Nancy confesses her embarrassment at never having purchased anyone before. Leo gently explains that he isn't bought. He sets a fee for his services, and it's willingly accepted, emphasizing that he's not being exploited. However, Nancy's concern about disappointing Leo is still overwhelming because she has never had an orgasm and believes it's impossible at her age, while Leo is confident. Nancy lost her husband 2 years ago and hasn't been with anyone since. Leo would be the second. She has no expectations, even offering Leo half of the money if he chooses to leave. Leo refuses, thinking she'd be betraying her late husband. Nancy feels she made a big mistake and is conflicted since she used to be an elementary school religious teacher. Leo continues to reassure her, suggesting it's time to go to bed. A sweet kiss on the neck makes Nancy feel better. Suddenly, Nancy stops and says she could bring legal blue pills. Leo doesn't need them. Nancy persists, stating Leo shouldn't be forced to be with someone he doesn't like. Leo argues there's always something to like. When Nancy learns that Leo's oldest partner was 82, she feels a bit relieved and asks how she can make him happy. Leo compliments her lips and necklines and tries to relax her. Just as he's about to kiss her, Nancy makes up another excuse, saying she needs to go to the bathroom to change. While Leo is getting ready, Nancy's tension is evident in every way. Leo has a drink and eats a chocolate bar while waiting. Finally, Nancy gathers her courage, changes. Leo tells Nancy she looks fantastic and is about to kiss her when Nancy rejects him again, saying she hates the smell of chocolate. When Leo returns after brushing his teeth, Nancy changes her mind again, stating she doesn't want to go through with it, will pay him in full, and he can leave. Leo realizes that it has nothing to do with chocolate and tries to convince Nancy not to give up, especially after she has thought about it for days or even weeks, and eventually succeeds. Nancy asks Leo what his mother thinks about his job. Leo doesn't want to talk about his mother. When Nancy insists, Leo mentions that he told his mother he works on an oil platform just to close the subject. This makes Nancy burst into laughter. Nancy becomes more talkative and talks about the boredom of her children, the dullness of her teaching years, and seems to have forgotten why they are actually in that room. Everything becomes quite dull, and Leo asks what her husband does in such situations. Nancy explains that he simply goes to bed naked, and for 31 years, they've been together in a very ordinary way, without any change or experimentation. And then he falls into a deep sleep. Leo is surprised by what he hears and looks at her with pity. Nancy has always wanted different desires, but her husband has deprived her, saying they are degrading. Tearfully, Nancy recalls a memory of a vacation with her family in Turkey when she was young. There, she met a young and attractive boy, and every moment he touched her became the craziest thing she had ever experienced. She had to return to her country the next day, and the regret of not being able to stay in Turkey for one more day has always lingered within her. Leo passionately kisses her and gives her an amazing night. A few days later, they meet again in the same room. Leo shares the joy of having pleased Nancy in the first session. Nancy, having compiled a list of things she has never experienced in her life by researching various pop-up pages on the internet, wants to use her mouth, asks Leo to do the same thing as in the first session, and desires many other unconventional things. Leo reassures Nancy that they are all doable, but Nancy trying to fit them all into the same day even surprises Leo. Leo promises to do his best for her, and they start moving on, completing the biggest and most challenging item on Nancy's list. Nancy asks if she needs to brush her teeth beforehand, to which Leo replies that it's not necessary. Meanwhile, the phone rings. After talking to her daughter, Nancy returns. Leo, seeing her so tense, tells her it's not a test, she needs to go with the flow, and they dance. Nancy complains for a while about her husband not allowing her to try new things, and finally, she says she's ready for something new. Leo gives Nancy a massage. Nancy asks Leo to take off his top. Leo's young and fit appearance captivates Nancy. As she touches him, everything feels good, but suddenly, she asks Leo to put his top back on. She claims to feel overwhelmed, sick, and weak. Leo's splendid appearance, resembling a model, is unusual for Nancy. She confesses that she has always been ashamed of and hated her own appearance. Leo, however, proves to her that her body is wonderful. Leo suggests playing a role-playing game like teacher and student. Unexpectedly, Nancy reacts negatively. She angrily asks Leo to finish his job quickly. Leo seems hurt, and they shift from conversation to work. However, Nancy starts crying, feeling pathetic for demeaning herself so much. Leo kindly suggests that maybe he's here just to talk, because everyone's needs are different. He reassures Nancy, stating that he doesn't judge any of his clients as long as they're not disrespectful. He also talks about his clients, and in the process, the changes in his body help Nancy gather all her courage. In the third session, where Nancy feels as if she's swimming in warm water, she reappears with Leo. This time, she looks much more relaxed and confident. She mimics how she and her husband behave together, making Leo laugh. Nancy showers Leo with praise, sharing her happiness now that they've completed the entire list, and she expresses that she will definitely recommend him to her friends. Leo, however, insists he's just a simple person striving to do his job well. Nancy becomes curious about his real-life identity, believing it's time they get to know each other completely. However, Leo is hesitant to reveal his identity, only stating that he is Leo Grande. Nancy shocks him by admitting she secretly researched him and already knows who he is. Leo, disappointed by her actions, quickly dresses and warns her never to contact him again. Nancy, shocked by this unexpected reaction, should have known that Leo's boundaries had to be respected. When she addresses him by his real name, Leo becomes infuriated. In retaliation, he warns Nancy that he could easily learn her real name and emphasizes that it wouldn't be well received for a former religious teacher to be discovered in a hotel room with a young boy. Nancy, in her defense, states that she believed they were just building trust and could potentially be friends outside. Leo, revealing his past traumas and portraying himself as a living corpse for his mother, angrily leaves the room. However, he returns a few minutes later because he left his phone behind. He is very angry and frantic, looking for his phone everywhere, and he eventually finds it where he dropped it. Assures Nancy he will refund the remaining time, leaves a small farewell kiss, and departs. Nancy, shattered, can only watch him leave. Nancy appears on the screen a few days later while waiting at the same hotel's cafe. We can see that she was quite nervous from her stern attitude when she told the hotel staff that she was waiting for her friend. One of the employees, even though she couldn't remember, turns out to be her former student. When Nancy says, "I must not have trained you well if you're working here," the girl is shocked. Leo arrives at that moment. The fact that her teacher is meeting such a young and handsome man raises the girl's suspicions. However, Leo skillfully manages the crisis, stating that they are meeting to buy Nancy's car. Despite the events in the last session, Leo had agreed to meet Nancy just to talk. Nancy talks about the vitality she feels from experiencing everything she couldn't when she was young in the past month. She also reveals that she recommends Leo Grande, the master of menopause, to all her friends, and that his real name is Susan Robinson. Leo, on the other hand, confesses that he finally told his brother the truth about his job, and while his brother didn't judge him, it remains a disappointment for their mother. When Leo was 15, his mother caught him exploring with some friends, and since that day, she has never looked at Leo as her son. Time has never healed anything. Becky brings the check, and Nancy apologizes for calling her and other girls sluts in the past, admitting that they actually regularly slept with Leo. She even suggests Leo's miraculous talents, saying that he should also try Leo with Becky. Becky listens in astonishment to her former teacher, and then goes to the room with Nancy and Leo. A long night awaits them to complete the list from the beginning, and at the end of the night, Nancy is satisfied for the first time in her life. This marks their final meeting, and they bid each other farewell, wishing good luck. Nancy looks in the mirror, lost in deep and soothing thoughts, and